Man, you are one pathetic loser. No offense. No, none taken.
That is right, none taken. I am the Movie Moron. This is the Movie Moron podcast. I am your host, Easton Moore.
Kool-Aid is fucking awesome.
It fucking is. And then all the way over to my right is our practical co-host, Trevor.
Fuck that bitch. This is Russia.
Correct.
And then our all-time guest, Tristen.
He's so beautiful.
Thanks, Tristen. We're going to do kind of two movies here, but the first movie is going to be really fast. Trevor didn't watch it.
I didn't.
And
I was supposed to, and I went to sleep instead.
Yeah, it's okay. But it's a comedy, and I'm just a Burt Kreischer fan, and Tristan's kind of a Burt Kreischer fan. And so we wanted to at least chat about it real quick. So we went and watched The Machine, and so we're going to do a quick 5 on that. If it's even 5 minutes, doesn't matter. And then we're going to do The Little Mermaid, which is the big movie of the week. And if you're listening right now, be prepared for next week because we have the big release of Across the Spider-Verse. So
Yeah, we do.
be excited for that. Okay.
We'll be flipping all over the place.
Yeah. So, just give just some general thoughts on whether you recommend it or not. We're not going to do any spoilers, and we're not going to do spoilers later. Just kind of talk about how you thought the movie was. This is Burt Kreischer's first movie. He didn't direct it, but he was obviously a major producer, and he was the lead actor in it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. I really liked the flashback thing that they did. I like how they did it. I wasn't like the previews for it.
Yeah.
I was expecting it to start off when he was in college and then
me too.
end, but it wasn't that way.
Or I thought it was going to do we're in the now, and then we cut to a flashback that's a 20-minute long flashback.
Yeah. But they didn't do it that way.
Nope, it was
Spoiler. But I liked it. I liked how they did it. I thought they did a good job of making it clear of when it was a flashback.
Yes. There's cool scenery changes. It's the same place,
And
but it looks completely. I'm in there. All the things that they do is it's the same place.
The picture looks different.
It's the same place, but it is 25 years prior, 30 years prior. So the setting looks different, even though it's the same place. They do a film grain that makes it look like it was filmed 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And then they have different actors. So all of that is cool things to make you know that you're in the past. Because sometimes movies
struggle with that.
when you're going in and out of the future and or present and past, sometimes it's hard to tell. You may be 2 minutes into a scene before you realize you're in the past, and it can get annoying. This one, you know right away.
Yeah. So I liked that. It's pretty gory. What did you call it? Comedy gore.
Yeah, it's just it's comic gore. It tries to be bloody for shock value. To create just comedic bits off of the gore. Some people like that. Some people don't. I thought it was an odd fit for this movie, but it does try to kind of be an action movie, and you get that from the trailer, but they definitely heavily leaned into it, which I think was kind of a detriment. I think it needed to be less action and more comedic, because the fun parts of this movie were not the action, I don't think. I think they were there to kind of progress the overarching, story of him being kidnapped, but the funny things weren't necessarily with that, especially with the extreme gore parts. They were just more like, this is gross, not funny.
Yeah.
And that was kind of their point, but I don't know. Our theater was cracking up several times throughout this movie. But they were never cracking up the gore part. So it just shows that wasn't really necessary. I think this could have been much more of a straight up comedy.
Yeah.
And kind of tried to stay away from the action bit. So
yeah. I think Burt did a great job.
His acting was not fantastic.
Well, no, but it's his first time and he's the main actor. Like, that's a lot.
Yeah. Fun fact here. Burt, I just saw this and I had heard this before. but I just got reminded of it. Bert Kreischer was actually supposed to be the main actor in Van Wilder.
Oh.
Not Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
So that movie was wrote for Bert.
Whoa.
Because that whole movie is based off of Bert's life in college.
What?
So he went to college for 7
Well, I
years
can't
at
get
Florida
through that
State
movie,
University.
so.
Yeah, and like it's just supposed to be about this party animal guy. And Bert had articles written about him in college and whatever. Like he would have been front face of Barstool Sports or whatever in today's age. But so it was that movie was written for him, and nobody would pick it up because Bert said, "If you want to take my story, I have to be the lead in it." And nobody would take the movie with him as the lead. And eventually somebody took the same exact story and like just changed the name of the main character and casted Ryan Reynolds, and they made National Lampoon's Van Wilder.
Wow.
And Bert was going to sue because it was his script. I don't know if it was his. I don't know if he wrote the script, but it was his story. He told the story. So he was in part of making the script, and then they just because he made no money off of that.
Yeah.
But he said somebody came up to him and said, if you want to make it in this business, because he was already doing comedy at that point. He wasn't big, but he was doing comedy. He's like, if you want to go any further in your career, you can't sue because then nobody will
want to work with you.
Nobody will want to work with you because you've gotten that reputation of suing.
Yeah.
So it really sucks.
Ouch.
Yeah, but you know what? Bert Kreischer made it happen. I mean, he's one of the top 5 at least touring artists or comedians in the world.
He's probably a lot more successful. I mean, I'm sure the movie would have been fine, but
he also was never he's not an actor. So I mean, he's trying. And he does. I think he does fine in this. But the acting overall in this movie is not fantastic.
Sure.
But like you kind of expect that with a comedy movie. So it's not a big deal. I think the problem is that they try to make it feel like it's not a comedy.
Yeah.
They try to make it feel like a drama action movie with a lot of comedy in it, when in reality they should have just leaned into this being a comedy, or just a comedy action. And they I don't know if they fully did that. I think producers got a hand on it and wanted to kind of modernize it and create a more dramatic scenes and stuff. So but overall that's kind of, we've kind of just talking back and forth. I liked it a lot. I had a lot of fun, but there's a lot of stuff that was not great. But all in all, I did have a lot of fun. It looked like Bert had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill looked very awkward the entire time.
I think he was supposed to though.
Yeah, he was. And it was just weird. Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah. So there's do I recommend it? This is a hard rated R movie. So just be aware of that. But
I think if you're a Bert fan,
if you're a Bert fan, you've already watched it.
Or a comedy, like his type of like if you're, you know what I'm trying to say.
No,
I don't either.
Okay, if you're,
I'm kidding.
like
I'm
if
kidding.
you're a
if you're a cum.
Oh,
stop that.
If you're a comedy fan, if you're a stand-up comedian fan,
yes,
I think it's what you're trying to
of
go
like
for.
his kind of style, like fun, goofy,
Party
random
guy. Yeah.
party. Yeah. Then even if you don't know him, is what I'm trying to say.
I would just say if you like comedy, you're gonna laugh. So that's kind of
sure.
So if you like comedy movies, you're gonna laugh. This isn't the old '90s comedies like, I don't know, Grandma's Boy, if Adam's listening, but it's not 2000s like Super Bad or something like that. But this is a comedy. You'll get a laugh. It's an hour and 30.
Yeah.
Hour and 40 minutes, I think. So, Okay. So now we will pivot to The Little Mermaid, and get all of our thoughts on the live action remake of The Little Mermaid.
Do you have the song going?
No.
Oh, you're not allowed to. Sorry.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I would get flagged.
Yeah.
Trevor?
what song were you gonna have going?
I wasn't going to have any. She just pulled that out of her ass.
Oh, my thoughts. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah,
You
general
want to know
thoughts.
what my thoughts on this movie are? I can get my mic
We're
to
going for the
be
thoughts.
correct here.
Oh.
Sorry, listeners, as I rearrange this.
Tristan's going for the thoughts, I guess.
Don't say that. Don't repeat it.
So here's my thoughts since you asked so nicely.
What's her name?
This movie opens up with a Hans Christian Andersen quote.
It does.
Reminding us that Hans Christian Andersen story, The Little Mermaid, is a better version than the actual Little Mermaid story. So in general, I don't personally... I mean, the story is just, in general, is original and the remake, is kind of vain. Like, this individual rejects who she is naturally and pursues basically a guy. Like, she talks about wanting to be with humankind, and then what clinches it is she saves this guy from drowning and falls in love with him, and then that's kind of the final push to go get her human legs instead of sea legs. And so that already just doesn't quite sit with me just as a person. So I want to make that a pretense before we get into it. This, just like every other Disney movie, man, or Disney live action remake, it's fine, but they're so obsessed. I just ranted about this whole movie earlier to a friend of mine, so I might be coming off hot. Sorry. They're so obsessed with like taking the live and live action, and that's what makes the remake. Like, Underwater is dark and not very fun looking to me. Granted, I will admit I was asleep for Under the Sea, but
I was dozing off by the time we hit Under the Sea.
the first act is an hour long,
and the first act
2
is
15-minute movie,
and it's really boring.
Yeah,
it's extremely boring.
And like every choice they made for Underwater,
we get
like
an angsty teen.
In the now that being said, I did like Halle Bailey. I thought she did, especially Above Water. I thought she was great when she actually got to act and not just be a face on a CGI mermaid's body underwater.
The hair was awful.
The hair was on everybody. The hair was so bad.
It's almost like having to CGI 28 people's hair is a bad idea.
Right? Although Melissa McCarthy, I think, is the only one.
You know who did this right? Avatar.
Right. Yeah.
You just film people underwater.
Yeah.
That's what a live action underwater movie would have been. And guess what? You wouldn't have to legitimately CGI their whole entire body.
But they wanted them to move like they do in the cartoon. And you can't do that with live people. Anyway, so yeah, the underwater stuff really rubbed me the wrong way.
I think that's kind of where this whole live action thing, what makes it a bad idea.
Yeah. I was about to say
these cartoons are cartoons because you can't do it with real people.
Right.
Lion King, you can't do with real animals.
And guess what? What they took from that is, oh, you know what? People really enjoyed our National Geographic take on the Lion King. Let's make flounder look like an actual fish.
Yeah.
I will say Sebastian's got some personality. Yeah. The way he moves is actually pretty.
I chuckled at Sebastian a few times. He's funny Jamaican.
I think the theater only laughed at Sebastian.
Well, Trevor, you were the first one to laugh at any joke from our theater.
I don't remember what the joke was, but I do remember letting out a hearty ha.
Yeah, and that was the first laugh. I think there were 3 times where people laughed in the theater. You were the first. And I was like, is Trevor really going to be the only person that laughs at a joke throughout this movie?
Right.
If that's the case, that's bad.
Right. Sebastian is David Diggs, who I am a fan of. He was in Hamilton because guess what? Lin-Manuel Miranda, God bless him, but he's got his sticky little fingers in all over this movie. Along with Lin-Manuel Miranda, the first inkling I had that he was in that is Scuttle's rap that Awkwafina does. And I was like, I guarantee you he's a part of, and sure enough, he did. And David Diggs, I'm sure he helped get David Diggs that role.
He did good though.
He did. On the flip
He's
side,
making me crazy.
On the flip side of the worst song, and that movie or that song is getting raked on the internet.
Good.
People,
Scuttlebutt.
Stop.
Am I allowed to say that?
I think so.
Okay.
Tristen loved it. She was singing it today.
To be fair, on the flip side,
fun.
Halle Bailey's first song she sings. That's not from the original movie. The one about gravity like falling is really, really good. And I thought she did a really good job with it.
She sounds great.
She's got a great
That's
voice.
not the problem.
Yeah. Well, and along with that, all these songs, like the Little Mermaid songs aren't just like, oh, they're the songs from the Little Mermaid. They're classics. Like people that haven't even seen the movie know Part of Your World and know Poor Unfortunate Souls. Yeah. To be fair, I do think Melissa McCarthy does that song some pretty good justice. But
she did good.
Yeah.
So you are not a Little Mermaid fan, right?
I mean, it's fine. It's not my favorite, but
how many times did you watch the movie in the last 10 years?
Maybe twice.
Okay. Are you a big fan of the cartoon?
Honestly, I forgot the story, so.
Oh, so no.
I mean, it's whatever. I like her. She's fine.
I was a little curious if, obviously there's a lot of controversy around this movie because it's Halle Berry instead of a white redheaded lady. And I feel like they changed a lot of things in that part and made it much more diverse and more ethnic. They had a lot of ethnic music and dancing and
all the sisters were different.
No, I don't even mean that. I mean when they were on the island.
It's a very inclusive island. Yeah.
And so halfway through this movie, I'm like, I don't even know if this really feels like Ariel's story. This just feels like a completely different character and a whole different story with just similar notes. There's a king of the sea and they find a prince, but like, my point, I'm just like, why don't you just create a new mermaid and have a new story that you can have more leniency?
You can't do that, Easton.
You would have been able to have more leniency in your story. You wouldn't have any complaints about switching old characters to new characters and any of that. You would have been able to have all of the very good, I think, cultural scenes that were on the beach and all that. I thought those were fun scores and stuff and fun dances and all that kind of stuff. And so, like, it just felt very little like the original story that I remembered. The only thing I remember, like, the story that felt the same to me was just a prince, a father, and then some musical scores.
I think it's pretty close to shot-for-shot remake.
Well, there's an extra 40 minutes. That's not possible.
Right. But I mean, I think they added to it rather than, like, I think they should have done a shot-for-shot remake, but they did and then added all this extra stuff. Along with those lines, though, Ursula's point, we'll talk about more in spoilers, but, like, I think the weakest part of this movie is Ursula's plan doesn't make sense. Like, in the original, it does, but in this, it's stupid. And then what's funny, that's actually a thing that I thought Disney did well. I thought, they're taking this new take on not even necessarily new take. They're just like, okay, we're having people of color be these main characters, blah, blah, blah. We're having this really inclusive island. It's not a Danish castle thing. It's or Denmark, wherever it's at. It's like a very Caribbean island. It's a very obviously South America.
Make sense just to have in the same world of Little Mermaid.
Yeah,
it's just not Ariel. That would make so much more sense because you're in a whole new place. You've got a whole new cast of sisters. A whole
new world, really.
I don't know that makes a whole lot of difference where it takes place at, though.
I mean, if they remade Star Wars and they didn't start it in Tatooine, that would be kind of a pissy way to restart Star Wars. You'd be like, no, it's not even you're not even in the right planet.
Well, let me finish my thought here. So Never. I thought they did a good. I think that's what Disney needs to do. I think if they're going to do these remakes, they need to do some course correction on stuff and they need to promote inclusivity, all that good stuff. But here's the thing. And I'm going to say this because it's in the original, so it's going to be in this. So for that, great, good for them. But then they make Melissa McCarthy's Ursula this little skinny woman. And Melissa McCarthy is not that. And in the original, when she transforms to like go seduce Eric or whatever, she looks like Ariel just with black hair instead of red. But in this, they get a whole new actress to play the disguised Ursula.
It's because no, I won't say why.
And so I was thinking, I was like, okay, Disney, like, good job being inclusive or whatever. but now you're like, oh, the only reason she was able to seduce Eric is she cast a spell on him and she made herself look like a skinny, attractive woman or whatever. So anyway, I was like, if you're going to do all this course correction and you're going to make it seem like you're trying to promote inclusivity and make it seem like you're trying to course correct from things that may have been taken wrongly in the past, you didn't do everything. You still messed up in some spots.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah. On your point, though, earlier, I do like that they decided to move locations with the diver, because it would not have made sense if this was off an island in Dutch or whatever, and there's a, huge... But it does, and it also makes sense for all of the stuff we get in the second act and into the third act of all of the, townspeople. They're a very lively culture, and I've never been to Jamaica or those Caribbean islands, but it... Yeah. Seems like that's somewhat on. And now they were giving away a lot of free stuff, which I was like, come on now. I know we're living in a Disney paradise right now, but.
Well, I had a question. I have a really nitpicky question. When do you guys think this takes place at?
Heck if I know.
It'd probably be like piratey, like ship Navy era kind of thing.
Yeah, you're probably talking about 1700s, maybe early 1800s.
Like late 17. When was steel started? When did steel start to get made? Like 50-gallon iron or 50-gallon steel drums, do you think? Anyway, while you're looking at that up, I'm going to tell you my nitpicky thing. There are steel drums all over in this movie, and you see people playing them. But if this movie is supposed to take place in the late 1700s or the 1800s, I don't know that steel was even a thing. And I know it's a fantastical made-up world or whatever, and it's, it is what it is, but, yeah.
Were they steel or iron?
I think it's steel, because you make it from 50-gallon drums is how you make steel pans.
Gotcha. Well,
or it's a way to make
steel's been around since what I just researched, 1800 BC.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean it was forged in...
No, but they need to make, barrels.
Yeah.
Is when they start making... Anyway, so wherever that is or not, I was just... thinking that during the movie, I was like, for everything being made of wood and more natural materials, quote unquote, we sure do have a lot of steel pans just laying around that people are playing.
Yeah, I am a little surprised that this movie isn't getting some flack for white knighting.
White knighting,
yeah, because the prince is white and he is this perfect, perfect man, that solves all the problems.
Well, I think they say, like I said,
people. There were early stuff before the movie came out. A lot of people were pissed off that he was cast a white guy.
I think Disney kind of saved themselves a little bit. They were getting ready to shoot themselves in the foot with that. I don't know why I'm making the motion with my hand. Getting ready to shoot themselves in the foot with that, but then I think they did one thing that kind of was able to quell that a little bit. We can talk about it in spoilers though. But sorry, that was a big old rant.
It's okay. We can move to spoilers here soon because we got to leave here in a little bit. We got a dinner to get
sorry.
to.
Yeah.
No, it's all
you're
good. Do you have any other spoiler-free thoughts you want to say before we move on?
There's not a lot.
Okay.
Well, it's fine.
Okay. Yeah, my biggest problem with this is just that these movies still just don't feel like they need to be made.
Right.
Because these movies were made as cartoons because
they make sense.
And they have to be done with a computer. You can't do them with live action people. Now, I think Aladdin is an exception. Mm-hmm. And I actually don't even hate the Aladdin remake. That's one of my favorites that they've done.
And the Cinderella remake is pretty good too.
Yes, the Cinderella remake is pretty good. And again, you can do all of that with live people.
Beauty and the Beast
was not my favorite.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Evermore's good. I liked it.
There was only one redeeming factor in that movie, and it was Emma Watson. But Lion King, this one, Little Mermaid, and I don't know, they're going to do Toy Story next?
Right.
And again, that would be why are you...
so creepy.
Exactly. This was creepy at moments.
Why don't they just do... the answer's staring in the face. Millennials want Atlantis and Treasure Planet.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah. They would make so much money.
They would make $1 bazillion. Yeah. But unfortunately, Trevor Planet will never be made.
Trevor's Planet.
I was going to say, I thought you were going to be like, well, unfortunately, Trevor.
Well, unfortunately, Trevor, Treasure Planet will never be made as a live remake because Disney hates Treasure Planet. So
sad.
I don't know if they hate Atlantis as much.
yeah.
I hope not, because Atlantis was fantastic, and I would love a remake of that. There's been 1,000 fan casts, and 90% of them are good.
Yeah.
So, okay, recommendations.
Cole Sprouse? Did you say Cole Sprouse?
People fan cast Cole Sprouse as Milo.
He's not even my favorite fan
That'd be
cast.
so cool.
Back in the
other
day-
one is Andrew Garfield. I see a lot of fan casts for him.
But that was like 10 years ago.
That's fair.
He's
kind
kind of
old
yeah,
now.
he's kind of
Yeah.
aged out of it. But back in the
That's
day,
a better way to say it.
yeah, when they were aged out instead of old. But back in the day, he was like a perfect fit for Milo.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other. Austin Butler has been another one that's been a lot of people have said.
That
Tom
boy.
Holland, of course, because Tom Holland's fan casted as everything.
He has to.
You
He's
have
a baby face.
Yeah.
you have to have
It's
someone
really
with
like structured
Yeah.
Milo.
He needs to. Yeah, he's got high cheekbones.
Yeah.
But
thin,
He's got a-
long face.
yeah. Not
Okay.
short.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Recommendation.
He's a big movie star. Whatever. Yeah. Yeah. It's fine. If you like, yeah, it's fine.
It's fine.
Yep.
Sure.
Probably not. I don't recommend going to see it.
Sure.
You
I
could
wouldn't
miss
say
this.
you don't
And-
have to see it in theaters.
And I'm not even saying that's bad. I'm just saying that I just wouldn't recommend you going and watch this
Yeah.
movie. There's no real point. You already know the story. You've already seen the story since the 50s or 40s or wherever this was
89
made.
is when it
oh.
came. Yeah.
Oh, it's a lot earlier. than I
89. Wow.
Yep. It was one of the first Renaissance Disney movies.
thought. But no, there's no need to go watch this. Okay, we're gonna do spoilers right after this break. Okay, and we're back.
We're back.
After that short little break. Yeah, we can just get into.
So real quick, the White Knight thing. I think. Two things I want to just get out the gate real quick since we're crunched for time. Ariel is the one that steers the ship that kills Ursula.
Yeah.
I think if Eric had done it like in the original, I think they would have come after Disney. But since she's the one that technically pulls the trigger, that gives the agency back to her.
I don't know how on par that was with the original. That whole scene.
Yeah,
But it
because
seems very weak structurally.
the whole last 15 to 20 minutes of this movie doesn't make sense. Which leads into my other thing. Ursula's plan is to get Ariel. She says 4 or 5 times, then she'll be mine.
Yeah.
And we never... What does that mean?
Yeah.
I assume you're going to kill her because there's skulls and
I
a
thought she
Oh,
mermaid
would,
skeleton.
be her slave.
Yeah.
Well, we see at the very end, she was just using it to get the trident from her dad.
Which is fine. That if that was the case, if that was her plan, was I'm gonna get Ariel, she's gonna be in my servitude or whatever, so I can trade her for the trident. But then King Triton dies.
Yeah.
When he
Yeah.
gets, so what? Okay, why does that happen? And then she inadvertently kills her eels, whatever. And then she gets stabbed, whatever. Ariel. But here's the thing: if Triton dies because the trident is taken from him, why don't they just take the trident from Ursula? Because doesn't that mean that she would die?
I thought
There's-
he died because the eels shocked him to death.
They just got done shocking Ariel.
He
though.
just lose.
thought
Well,
they
they were
went
like
harder.
torturing. Yeah, they were just torturing Ariel to get him to.
It looks the exact same.
It does
Yeah.
look the same, yeah.
See, we
but-
both have a problem with Ursula's plan. Mine, however, is in a different way. Her whole plan is to take away Ariel's voice, and this is maybe even a fault in the first movie. I don't know. I can't
Sure.
remember all that well.
I can't
But
remember.
her plan is to take away Ariel's voice, and then Ariel has to, at least get a kiss from what's his
Eric.
name?
Eric.
Eric. Assuming that that's not the perfect woman for every man. A beautiful woman that doesn't talk. That's
Oh my goodness.
you're gonna get it.
Your
I mean,
wife's
co-
right here.
What are you doing? This is a flawed plan from the start. You're just gift wrapping it right in front of
oh my
them.
gosh.
Just saying.
Was that your problem? Oh my gosh.
No,
Anyway.
that was my joke problem.
Okay. Let's hear the real problem.
Well, no, but I mean, it does stand true though, because she doesn't talk, and they have a perfectly lovely time.
true.
They go on dates. He talks nonstop and just
Sounds like
loves
someone else
chatting
I know.
away.
See, now here's the thing between the original Hans Christian Andersen story. She has to get him to recognize that it's her that saved him. Like he has to verbalize, "Oh, you're the one that saved me," not get a kiss. And then when she doesn't, the only way that she can like still live is she has to kill him. Ursula's like, if you
What
don't,
the heck?
if you don't get him to convince you in 3 days, you have to kill him or you die. But he finds somebody else who he loves because he looks at Ariel as a friend, and she makes the choice to not kill him and sacrifice herself, and so she dives into the sea and turns to the sea foam.
So this is completely different.
It's completely different.
So I was right. They could have just had a completely new person.
It's not completely different from the '89 movie, which is what they're replicating. Completely different from the Hans Christian Andersen tale.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I see what
my
you're
bad.
saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then what? Okay, so then why does he come back? The trident falls, and then it does some little glowy magic stuff off the cliff, and all of a sudden he's
Can
reformed.
she bring people back to life?
Who?
Ariel,
I
with her little siren voice.
They never tell us that.
They said you brought Eric back to life with you did your tricks on the human man.
Yeah, but she didn't sing. The trident just hit the floor.
That's true.
Yeah.
Maybe she was holding it, so she had like extra power or something.
Maybe.
What we're saying is they didn't explain it.
And then like you don't have to explain everything, but you have to at least give enough clues to make sense.
Right.
For what you're showing on the screen.
And it seemed like it was just a way. Oh, and also, once the movie finished, I turned to Easton and I was like, was that the guy from No Country for Old Men? And he was like, yep.
Eric or?
No, the King Triton. Javier Bardem is his name.
Oh, I thought he was the brother on Everybody Loves Raymond.
No, he's not. I know who you're talking about, though.
Doesn't it look like him?
Yeah, it does a little bit. But,
oh, that's him?
Yeah. And
what
man,
the heck?
Does he have one look for this entire movie?
Yeah, his whole face is CGI'd. What is he supposed to do?
That's true. That's why he looked like the other guy.
His beard, hair, crown, body, armor, and everything was CGI. The only thing that wasn't CGI was this part of his face. If you're looking online YouTube, you can see. That's all that he has to work with.
I think so. I looked up a little bit how they did this. They did what's called dry for wet, which is where they film everybody in person, and obviously they don't do all the movements, but they try to replicate what they're supposed to do underwater. I think he is not CGI'd in the end where he's above water talking to her.
Oh.
However, that doesn't help his case because he looks exactly the same. He just always looks frustrated in this movie. Anyway.
Well, to be fair, he is frustrated for a lot of this movie.
I'm curious if maybe he tried to do more stuff. Like maybe he did, because he's a great actor. I'm wondering if he tried to do some more things, and they either told him they're not going to be able to do what he's trying, or not going to be able to make that work, and they were like, you need to relax your face more, or they did, and then like you said, Easton, they just CGI'd the whole thing because he needs the beard for it. So I don't know.
Yeah. You spoke about the ocean, and I just have a few things. One, the CGI in the ocean was real hit or miss. Sometimes I was fine. Other times it was awful. And then when she's in her cave, she puts her hands in the sand, and it's just dry sand. Like on a beach.
Yeah.
It's not underwater sand.
It's just not like flowing up around.
There's like a little dust and stuff, but it looked like dry sand. And it like
dry sand and wet sand look very different.
Yeah. And like it's not going to look like wet sand after it's been like wet and then out in it. But it's not going to look like that. It looked like they just had her in dry sand and then just put that in the scene. And it looked really bad.
Yeah.
My notes are on my phone.
Oh, no.
Because I did have another thing that was underwater that just looked awful.
While you're thinking of it, I think my biggest problem with the underwater sequences was they seemed to use this undertone of black where they were like, okay, we're in the ocean, it's dark.
Yeah.
Because the ocean is dark and they're deep down, so everything it's that same thing with earlier with Flounder. Like they take too much of the live in live action. And when they should have used, in Lord of the Rings, all the night shots were, I believe they were filmed either at like dusk or morning, and then they had a blue filter on to make it look like it was night. Because guess what? Because then you can still see everything, and you can still see all the action happening. If they had and they do it in a couple scenes. I noticed one at the end where they use a blue tint or a blue undertone for the sea, and it looks so much more alive and so much nicer. They're just trying to be so realistic with these movies, and I don't think it's working the way they want to.
And it's for kids, yo.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's the problem, actually, is like we were saying next to two adults, and I was kind of like, why are you guys here to see this? But Disney adults are a thing.
Oh, no, they 100% are.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like these remakes should just be like, we're going to like make an adult version of the story. Not not in 17 adult, but like...
for adults.
Yeah. Well, and like you could have that kind of stuff in it, but it would be like we're going to show the story of and going to show the like truth and stuff behind it. It's not going to be a musical. We're not going to have lighthearted numbers.
Yeah.
Like we're going to show like we like this. Obviously, the story has connected with people throughout a long time, but let's show a more realistic version of it.
That Winnie the Pooh, except not as dark.
Blood and Honey.
Yeah, that was a straight just horror movie. That's nothing to do with.
I'm saying like they were making that for adults.
Yeah.
So like that, but not at all like
so many new stories of that Winnie the Pooh has to tell.
There's going to be a lot because it's free roam or free whatever you call it.
Speaking of free, we could see Halle Bailey's whole feet, both of them, for free in this movie.
That's true.
Yep. She showed it, and I was like, feet fetish dudes are creaming right now.
He literally leaned over to me and said that. I was like, Easton more.
It's a shot fit for Quentin Tarantino.
I thought of that as well.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I know what they're doing. They're trying to get some extra sales.
That's right. Man, and I kept thinking, all these Disney live action remakes, they just look the same. Like they all honestly look like Pirates of the Caribbean is what they look like, which were made in like 2010 or earlier.
Yeah. Well, the problem is that a lot of older movies had CGI as a piece of their film. They filmed a lot. They had green screen and back blue screen stuff in the back to kind of fill in the spaces that they couldn't put practical effects in, and so the CGI looked good because they had a little like it was sprinkled. It was sprinkled. It wasn't as integral, like to the actual story.
Yeah,
like the scenes that were like, okay, we have this CGI shot. We're gonna film this thing, and we're gonna need some CGI in post to really make this look good. They could spend a ton of time doing that one thing. And then the rest of it, they didn't have. They could be more loose on it, not spend as much time. Blah blah blah. Now they're making movies that are 99% CGI, and so it's just too much. Now, if they had 12 years to make this movie, then it would look fantastic.
Well, they kind of did. Hasn't this been in production for like
a long
5 years plus or something like that?
I feel like it has for a long
time. I guess COVID was a factor in it too because it was in COVID production pre-COVID. So.
Yeah, and Disney probably took a good year off of production.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember the other thing on my notes of what looked bad underwater.
Was it the shark, maybe?
No, shark was being okay. Abnormally large.
Yeah, right.
But
I'm trying to think of all the things that happened.
Yeah, I mean, really, like we've said before, the first act just takes way too long. It's a real bore fest. I almost fell asleep several times in the first hour. The Under the Sea score was good, but it almost like lulled me to sleep more.
Yeah,
because I was already tired, and it was just a chill, fun song. So I at that point was almost like gave in. But then I think right after that is when it started to get to the second act. So, I do really like. I actually don't mind a lot of the scenes when it's Ariel and Eric on land. I think that's when it kind of did the best. It was a decent,
and it was bright. Yeah, like it kept you engaged.
Yeah, and it was a decent. They had good chemistry.
Yeah,
which is important. I don't know how much I loved the parents. I thought they were a little rough around the edges, but I really liked the two quote unquote servants, Grimsby
and Lashana.
Yeah,
I did too.
I would actually like to see like even a half an hour like short about Grimsby and the mother. I really like their interact. Just they're both caring for the kid and Eva Shauna too. But I thought that was fun.
I was getting really confused on who the king and queen were and who the two, because they were.
I don't know that there was a king.
I don't think the king was in it.
Yeah.
If he was alive.
I think it was just the mother.
Yeah.
And the servant was just sitting at the dinner table with them.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think Grimsby was more of like a
right hand man.
Yeah, like
well, that
like
would make sense why I thought
thing.
that I was confusing the king and Grimsby because they were the same exact person.
Yeah.
Right.
I figured that was mom and dad.
Right.
Because they said you guys adopted me.
Like, and that's what I said is like I would love to see a half hour thing of just like maybe have a secret little love affair or something like that. I think that'd be fun. Talk about some adult Disney content. Let's go.
Oh my word.
Well, I'm sure you can find it on Rule 34.
I don't like where this conversation is heading. Let's pivot.
Then move it.
I had something else I was going to say, and I'm trying to remember what it was.
I don't have anything else.
Yeah.
And there doesn't really need to be anything. Awkwafina didn't need to be in this movie.
You didn't like her scuttlebutt?
You know what?
The seagull being underwater for 3 minutes was extremely stupid.
I was going to say
they tried to save it.
You and I had a conversation about it earlier when we saw the trailer, and I remember thinking, okay, well, like these seagull maybe it dives underwater for food, maybe blah blah blah, and so I was thinking, okay, maybe it's like 30 seconds. It just says something. It's like, okay, I have to go back out of the surface or something. Yeah, but like, no, it's a full 3-minute conversation. I gotta get some air. Yeah, right.
At the very end.
Yeah.
You're not a whale.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember what I was gonna say. So at the end.
Oh, and so before we get off Awkwafina and the seagull thing, I love how we just completely go right past the fact that Awkwafina just swims down and murders one of their.
Yeah.
Oh, kills a fish and eats it.
Yeah.
Right in front of them. Yeah. And he does not care at all. Yep. It's like, oh yeah, there's definitely an economy of just eating each other, but that's fine. Like we're not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
That's like me
I definitely noticed that too.
It's like me just going and frying up an Asian and being like,
Easton more.
Easton. Good gracious.
Like, hey, you know what? Hey, we're all good. And then I go and talk to, another Asian friend.
Anyway.
I'm saying that's
Pivoting.
how wild that is.
Again, pivoting again.
Hey.
Go before he has a chance to talk.
At the end, we get this, you kind of get this
idea
like
Asian food?
that, oh my gosh. We kind of get this idea that that mer people or like sea creatures and humans are maybe going to start interacting again because they all show up. I'll tell you what, some of those mermaids be looking super fine. Yeah. And for Ariel to pick the most basic looking dude on the face of the planet when she had like this like society to pick from of just peak like physical condition people, like I think Ariel maybe just needed to like have a timeout in her room or something to get past all this wanting human leg stuff.
Yeah. Well, she's just obsessed with human culture in general. Mm-hmm. And then she just happens to see and fall in love with the prince.
And I guess you can't pick who you fall in love with.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, that's both true.
Easton, you're speaking of showing the feet for free. Come on, man.
Hey, put those away. Put those bad boys away.
Get those dogs out of here.
I have to itch my foot, so no.
Okay.
Oh.
Moving on.
Yeah.
We should probably wrap up anyway.
Okay.
What you got?
On
what do I
ratings.
got for ratings?
What do you got?
Oh, I got a 3.
I got a 3 too.
2.5.
Nice.
2.5.
Look at that. 275. I guess it'd be more like 290 for the average.
Oh. Like nobody said 7.
Okay. Well, that's our review of that. We will be back.
Whatever that was.
We'll be back with something not Disney, thank God. Although it's kind of Disney.
It's Sony?
Yeah. So it's not Disney, but it's Disney akin because it's Marvel. But not Marvel. So, okay. Thank you guys. Have a good one. Bye.
Oh, the next live action Disney remake is set to be Snow White and the Seven Dwarves.
What the heck?
Yep.
Lay off.
You talking to me?
And there seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere.
Hello?
What an idiot!
Well, what do you expect? I'm the movie Moron.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
Don't call me stupid.
Oh, right! To call you stupid would be an insult to stupid people! I've known sheep that could outwit you.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
Man, you are one pathetic loser. No offense. No, none taken.